Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let's see, Sandy, I guess we'll read the minutes from last month.
The Cross Plains City Commission met on Thursday, January 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at Cross Plains City Hall. Those present were Mayor Barry Faulkner, Vice Mayor Sam Hastings, Commissioner Marlene Grace, Commissioner Sherry Johnson, Commissioner Jason Young, City Manager Chip Hellman, and City Recorder Tammy Covington. Mayor Faulkner welcomed the delegation and called the meeting to order. Everyone rose for the Pledge of Allegiance. Minutes from the December 7th, 2023 meeting were read. Motion made to have minutes stand as read. All in favor? Mayor Faulkner publicly apologized to the City Commission and the public for any comments that got out of hand regarding the sewer discussion at the December meeting. He agreed that more information was needed to better understand the issues regarding the sewer need in the downtown area of Cross Plains. Commissioner Sherry Johnson made a motion to have MTAS present at every meeting regarding the sewer discussion. Motion seconded by Vice Mayor Sam Hastings. All in favor? Commissioner Sherry Johnson will reach out to MTAS. Financial report was given. Motion made by Commissioner Jason Young to adjust financial report line item miscellaneous fees of $5,000, insurance, auto, and liability by $27.62, police equipment by $25, and police work street signs by $1,000. Motion seconded by Commissioner Sherry Johnson. All in favor? Motion made by Commissioner Jason Young to accept financial report with changes. Seconded by Commissioner Marlene Grace. All in favor. Ordinances 23-4 and 23-5 will be read at the February 1st, 2024 meeting. Mayor Faulkner gave the police and fire department report. Police answered 48 calls and fire department answered 87 calls. 32 inside the city limits and 55 outside. City Manager Chip Hellman gave the city manager report. He gave the commission a fee schedule to look over and come back to at the February meeting with any questions or concerns. Under old business, meeting was turned over to Matthew Nix with Tennessee Wastewater Adenis to discuss the sewer project to be located in the Cross Plains downtown area. He informed the public that his company was the company that ran the current system at the interstate. Discussion resumed and city commission had some questions prior to public comment. Public sign-in sheet is attached to minutes. Concerns from public concerns from the public were who was going to be permitted to connect to the sewer, how far would the sewer line go, and the location of the system. There were several options available and will be discussed at the next meeting. There was no vote on the new system, and more information will be given at the next city meeting. Ordinances will be read at the next meeting due to time. Motion to adjourn.
Okay. What about the MTAS?
I spoke to Gary the following Monday, and he is going to get somebody involved. They had a recent retirement, and somebody had a recent death in the family. So he did not know if he could get anybody here to this meeting, but they will get involved.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments about the minutes? We're going to stand approved as read. And let's see, financial report, excuse me. What we have there?
We've got a couple of things that need attention, very minor. If you look on page 2, police uniforms are over by $366, and that has to do with
They're looking good.
yeah, they need to look nice. I was going to say that.
The uniforms don't do that.
I mean, they're looking slick, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would suggest on that one is just to increase the budget to $4,900, and we can do that because we're over budget on revenue for beer permits. We've got $1,000 that have come in, and we only budgeted $600, so we can change that budget amount by $400, and those would wash out. So it'd be neutral. And then over in the fire fund, there's a little bit of outage. Again, uniforms, $350.90. Where's Tom? Stand up and model for us. You looking good, babe?
Mother ain't gonna help him.
We don't have enough money to get
Take more to uniform.
We're way under budget on the fire prevention, the line item below that, so I suggest, we amend the budget, increase it by $400 on uniforms, and reduce the budget, the line item below it, fire prevention expenses for $400, and that will wash out. Those are my recommendations, okay?
Well, and it might increase some more because he did hire 4 full-time fire.
Right,
So that's why he's out of budget.
yes. Right.
Okay, you heard the recommendation, is there a motion?
So where on this budget will I see, like, where those folks are getting paid, those new firefighters?
It'll be under the volunteer firemen. Well, it should be under the fire department, because that's where they're getting paid out of.
Right.
Let me make a note. There's another line item that's not showing up too on here, and it's in our revenues. It's the gas tax from the state. And that will increase, it's about $60,000, because it's not showing on here.
Okay.
So I will make a note about that too. I noticed that today. And then show. It's on my system, but it's not printing out on the
Yeah, on the
report.
So.
It's probably a box check somewhere. I'll need to go back and look at it.
Okay. So I'm looking for the motion. Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. All right. So now we'll ask for a motion to approve the, financial report with those, changes made. Second? Second. All in favor? Okay. So y'all can see the numbers there in the, general fund. There's $151,000, and fire special revenue fund, $96,000. And then, in CDs, it's basically, $870,000 there. So financially, we're in pretty good shape. So we've got a couple ordinances to read tonight, and let's see.
We're only gonna read the stormwater one for time's sake. We'll have a public hearing next month, and we'll read the stormwater ordinance
And building permit.
and the building permit fees.
for the first.
Then it'll be the first reading on the building permit fees,
Okay.
and the public hearing will be the second reading on the stormwater ordinance.
Okay. It's gonna get a little lengthy, so if you wanna step outside or go make a phone call and get something to eat, it's gonna be about 20 minutes before we get back. So I'll start, and,
Well, I would like to share some information before we move very much further with this stormwater ordinance. Do you mind if I do that?
well, we'll have to read it. Have to read it.
Okay.
We'll get a motion, we'll get a second, then we'll open it up for,
Okay, that makes sense.
okay. I'll get you to read though.
That's all right.
Okay, whereas Tennessee Code annotated section 68.221-1105 provides that among powers municipalities have to respect to stormwater facilities is the power by ordinance or resolution 2. Number 1, exercise general regulation over the planning, location, construction, operation, and maintenance of stormwater facilities in the municipality, where owned and adopted by the municipality or not. Adopt any rules and regulations deemed necessary to accomplish the purpose of Tennessee Code annotated section 68-221-1101, including the adoption of the system of fees for services and permits. Number 3, Establish standards to regulate the quantity of stormwater discharge and to regulate stormwater contaminants as may be necessary to protect water quality. Review and approve plans, this is section 4, and plats for stormwater management is proposed developed properties. Issue permits for stormwater discharges or the construction, alteration, extension, or repair of stormwater facilities. And number 6, suspend or revoke permits when it is determined that the permittee has violated any applicable ordinance, resolution, or condition of the permit. Number 7, regulate and prohibit discharges into stormwater facilities of sanitary, industrial, or commercial sewage or waters that may have otherwise been contaminated, and expend funds to remediate or mitigate the detrimental effects of contaminated land or other sources of stormwater contamination, whether public or private, and whereas it is advisable to create the stormwater utility to be responsible for the operation, construction, and maintenance and rehabilitation of stormwater facilities, for stormwater systems, planning, water acquisition related to stormwater management, and for review of stormwater development plans for compliance with this stormwater management ordinances, policies, procedures, and manuals.
Barry, I'll pick it up.
Okay?
And why don't we just go around the room, everybody read a page till we're done. Okay? Article 1, general provisions. Article 2, definitions. Article 3, land disturbance permit. Article 4, stormwater management standards. Article 5, erosion prevention and sediment control performance standards. Article 6, post-construction. Article 7, illicit discharges. Article 8, floodway, floodplain. Article 9, enforcement. Article 10, penalties. Article 11, appeals. And Appendix A. So Article 1, general provisions. Number 1, purpose. It is the purpose of this ordinance to protect, maintain, and enhance the environment of the city of Cross Plains, as well as the overall well-being, safety, and public health of its residents. This entails regulating the release of pollutants into the city's stormwater system and enhancing the quality of the waters receiving these stormwater outflows. These receiving waters encompass various bodies such as lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, wetlands, and the groundwater of the city. B, allow the city to exercise the powers granted in Tennessee Code Annotated 68-221-1105, which provides that, among other powers, cities have with respect to stormwater facilities, it is the power by ordinance or resolution to 1, exercise general regulation over the planning, location, construction, operation, and maintenance of stormwater facilities in the city, whether or not owned and operated by the city. 2, adopt any rules and regulations deemed necessary to accomplish the purpose of this statute, including the adoption of a system of fees for services and permits. 3, establish standards to regulate the quantity of stormwater discharge and to regulate stormwater contaminants as may be necessary to protect water quality. 4, review and approve plans and plats for stormwater management in proposed subdivisions or commercial developments. 5, issue permits for stormwater discharges or the construction, alteration, extension, or repair of stormwater facilities. Let me get to the end of this section. 6, suspend or revoke permits when it is determined that the permittee has violated any applicable ordinance, resolution, or condition of the permit. 7, regulate and prohibit discharges into stormwater facilities of sanitary, industrial, or commercial sewage or waters that have otherwise been contaminated. And number 8, expend funds to remediate or mitigate the detrimental effects of contaminated land or or other sources of stormwater contamination, whether public or private.
Authorities. The administrating entity shall administer all provisions of this chapter unless noted otherwise. 3. Jurisdiction. This ordinance shall govern all properties within the corporate limits for the city of Cross Plains, Tennessee. 4. Right of entry. Designated city staff or representatives shall have right of entry a reasonable time on or upon the property of any person subject to this chapter and access to any permit document issued hereunder. City staff shall be provided ready access to all parts of the premises for purposes of inspection, monitoring, sampling, inventory, records, examination, and copying, and performance of any other duties necessary to determine compliance with this chapter. Designated city staff shall have the right to set up on the property of any person subject to this chapter such devices as are necessary to conduct sampling and or flow measurements of the property's stormwater operations or discharges. The city has the right to determine and impose inspection schedules necessary to enforce the provisions of this chapter. Administrating entity. Designated city staff or representatives shall administer the provisions of this chapter. 6. Conflicting standards. If any provision of this chapter and any other provisions of law impose overlapping or contradictory regulations or contain any restrictions covering any of the same subject matter, that provision which is more restrictive or impose higher standards or requirements shall govern. 7. Stormwater Management Ordinance. The city has adopted this stormwater ordinance with the intended purpose of safeguarding property and public welfare by regulating stormwater drainage and requiring temporary and permanent provisions for its control. It should be used as a planning and engineering implement to facilitate the necessary control of stormwater. Sherry, you want to pick up?
I'm not reading.
What's that?
Sam?
I'm not ready. I already got the book.
Marlene, you want to read?
Article 2, definitions. For the purpose of this chapter, the following definitions shall apply. Words used in the singular shall include the plural, and the plural shall include the singular. Words used in the present tense shall include the future tense. The word shall is mandatory and not discriminatory. The word may is permissive. Words not defined in this section shall be construed to have the meaning given by common and ordinary use as defined in the latest edition of Webster's Dictionary. Analytical monitoring. Test procedures for the analysis of pollutants. Test procedures for the analysis of pollutants shall conform to regulations published pursuant to section 304H of the Clean Water Act and amended under which such procedures may be required. Pollutant parameters shall be determined using significantly sensitive methods in Title 40 CFR 136 as amended and pursuant to Section 304 of the Act. The chosen method must be significantly sensitive as required in the State Rule 400-40-03-5A as build plan, as drawings depicted the elevation, location, and material of stormwater facilities as they were actually constructed. Aquatic resource alteration permits, physical operations of properties. The water of the state requires an ARAP or a 401 water quality certification. ARAP means a permit issued to TCA 69-3-108 of the Act, which authorizes the alteration. Best management practices, or BMP, are the physical, structural, and/or managerial practices that, when used alone or in combination, prevent or reduce pollutants of water that have been approved by the City of Cross Plains and that have been incorporated by reference into stormwater ordinance as is fully set out therein. Brownfield redevelopment, which means redevelopment which may be complicated by the presence of hazardous substance, pollutants, or contaminants. Cemetery, means all real property owned by the federal, state, and or local government and private enterprises that have been designated by such governmental entities as such as a cemetery.
Okay, civil penalty. Administrative penalties under the authority provided in the state code annotated 1106. The city declares any person violating the provisions of this chapter be assessed a civil penalty by the city of not less than $50, not more than $5,000 per day for each day of violation. Each day of violation shall constitute a separate violation. Common plan or development of sale is broadly defined as any announcement or documentation, including a sign, public notice, or hearing, sales pitch, advertisement, drawings, permit application, zoning requests, computer design, or physical demarcation, including boundary signs, lot stake, surveyor's market, etc. Indicating construction activities may occur on a specific plot. A common plan of development or sale identifies a situation in which multiple areas of disturbance are occurring on contiguous areas. This applies because the activities may take place at different times or different schedules by different operators. Construction means the erection, building of acquisition, alteration, reconstruction, improvement, or extension of stormwater facilities. Preliminary planning to determine the economic and engineering feasibility of stormwater facilities. The engineering, agricultural, legal, physical, economic investigations or studies, surveys, designs, plans, working drawings, specifications, procedures, or any other necessary in the construction of stormwater facilities and the inspection of the supervision of the construction of stormwater facilities. Cost of the construction means reasonably incurred in the connection with providing capital improvements related to stormwater facilities or any portion thereof, including but not limited to the cost of, number one, acquisitions of the property, real or personal, and all interest in connection therewith, including all rights of way, easements, and therefore. Number two, physical construction and installation, testing, including the cost of labor, services, materials, services, and utility services used in the connection therein. Number three, architectural, engineering, legal, or other professional services, insurance premiums taken out by and maintained during the construction to the extent not paid for by a contractor or construction and installation. Any taxes or charges which become due during the construction. Number six, incurred by the city of Cross Plains or on its behalf with its approval in seeking to determine any remedy against any contractor or subcontractor in respect of any default under the contract relating to the construction. Number seven, principal of the interest of any bonds. And number eight, miscellaneous expenses incidental thereto. Contaminant means any physical, chemical, biological, radiological substance or matter in the water. Design storm event means a hypothetical storm event or a given frequency, interval, and duration during the analysis and designs of the stormwater facility, the estimated design rainfall amount, and any other return period interval in terms of either 24-hour depths or intensities of any duration can be found assessing the following NOAA, National Weather Service Atlas, 14 data for Tennessee. Other data sources may be acceptable with the prior written approval by TDAC, Water Resources Division, Rainfall hydrograph used shall be type 2 distribution.
Developed property means any real property that has been altered from its natural state by the creation or addition of buildings, structures, pavement, or other impervious surfaces, or by the alteration of the property that results in a meaningful change of hydrology of the property during and following rainfall events. Discharge means dispose, deposit, spill, pour, inject, seep, dump, leak, or place by any means, or that which is disposed, deposited, spilled, poured, injected, seeped, dumped, leaked, or placed by any means, including any direct or indirect entry of any solid or liquid matter into the municipal separate stormwater system. Erosion means the removal of soil particles by the action of water, wind, ice, or other geological agents, whether naturally occurring or acting in conjunction with or promoting anthropogenic activities or effects. Fiscal year means July 1 of a calendar year to June 30 of the next calendar year, both inclusive. Hotspot means any area where land use or activities generate highly contaminated runoff with concentrations of pollutants in excess of those typically found in stormwater. The following land uses and activities are deemed stormwater hotspots, but that term is not limited to only these land uses. A, vehicle salvage yards and recycling facilities. B, vehicle service and maintenance facilities. C, vehicle and equipment cleaning facilities. D, fleet storage areas, bus, truck, etc. E, industrial sites, including on SIC code list. F, marinas, service and maintenance. G, public works storage areas. H, facilities that generate or store hazardous waste materials. I, commercial container nursery. J, restaurants and food service facilities. K, other land uses and activities as designated by an appropriate review authority. Illicit connections means illegal or unauthorized connections to the stormwater system, whether or not such connections result in discharges into that system. Illicit discharge means any discharge to the municipal storm system that is not composed entirely of stormwater and not specifically exempted under Article 7, Section 3. Let me keep going, I'm on a roll.
Okay, go ahead.
Impervious surface is a surface that is compacted or covered with material that is resistant to infiltration by water, including but not limited to most conventionally surfaced roads, roofs, sidewalks, patios, driveways, parking lots, and any other oil, gravel, graded, compacted, or any other surface which impedes the natural infiltration of surface water. Impervious surface area is the number of square feet of horizontal surface covered by buildings and other impervious surfaces. All building measurements shall be between exterior limits of the structure, foundations, columns, or other means of support or enclosure. Injection well is a natural surface depression that has been altered in order to direct fluids into the whole opening. Injection wells are regulated under PDEC's underground injection program. Underground injection constitutes an intentional disposal of wastewaters in natural depressions, open fractures, and crevices, such as those commonly associated with weathering of limestone. Land disturbance is a change in the existing soil, both vegetative and non-vegetative, and or the existing soil topography. Land disturbing activities include, but not limited to, development, redevelopment, demolition, construction, reconstruction, clearing, grading, filling, and excavation. Maintenance means any activity that is necessary to keep a stormwater facility in good working order so that as to function as designed. Maintenance shall include complete reconstruction of a stormwater facility if reconstruction is needed in order to restore the facility to its original operational design parameters. Maintenance shall also include the correction of any problem on the site that may directly impair the functions of the stormwater facility. Municipal ownership, see public ownership, National Pollutant Discharge Eliminating System permit, or NPDES permit, means a permit issued pursuant to 33 U.S.C. 1342. Off-site facility means a structural BMP located outside the subject property described in the development plan. On-site facility means a structural BMP located within the subject property boundary described in the development plan. Operator, in the context of stormwater associated with construction activity, means any person associated with a construction project that meets either of the two following criteria. A, the person has operational or design control over construction plans, specifications, including the ability to make modifications to those plans and specifications. This person is typically considered the owner or developer of the project or a portion of the project and is considered the primary permittee. Or B, the person has day-to-day operational control of these activities at a project which is necessary to ensure compliance with the Stormwater Prevention Plan, SWPPP, for the site or other permit conditions. This person is typically a contractor or a commercial builder who is hired by the primary permittee and is considered a secondary permittee. It is anticipated at different phases of a construction project, different types of parties may satisfy the definition of operator.
Let me pick it up.
I'll go on to the end of the page. Parkland means all real property owned by federal, state, and or local governments that have been designated by such governmental, governmental entity for use as a public park. Person means any and all persons, natural or artificial, including any individual, firm, or association, and any municipal or private corporation organized or existing under the laws of this or any other state or country. Priority construction means those construction activities discharging directly into or immediately upstream of waters the state recognized as unavailable condition for siltation or exceptional Tennessee waters. Property means real property. Property owner is the property owner of record as listed in the city and or county tax assessment roll. A property owner includes any individual, corporation, firm, partnership, or group of individuals acting as a unit, and any trustee, receiver, or personal representative. Private ownership is all facilities privately owned and maintained. Public ownership or municipal ownership is all facilities having been dedicated to or accepted by the city of Cross Plains, Robertson County, state of Tennessee, or federal government. Redevelopment means building or constructing new infrastructure in an area that has previously been built or constructed on, and the old infrastructure is to be replaced with new. Runoff means that portion of the precipitation on a drainage area that is discharged from the area. Sediment means means solid material, both mineral and organic, that is in suspension and is being transported or has been moved from the site of origin by air, water, gravity, or ice, and has come to rest on the Earth's surface, either above or below sea level.
Sinkhole means a cavity in the ground providing a route for surface water to disappear underground. Stabilization means providing adequate measures, vegetative or structural, that will prevent erosion from occurring. Stormwater means precipitation runoff, snow melt runoff, surface runoff, and street wash water related to street cleaning and maintenance, filtration, infiltration, and drainage. Stormwater facilities or stormwater flood control facilities means all natural and man-made conveniences and structures for which the partial or full purpose or use is to convey surface water within jurisdictional boundaries of the city. This includes all natural conveyances for which the city has assumed a legal maintenance responsibility, to which the city has made improvements against the flooding, of which the city must make provisions to protect public and private property, or for which the city is accountable under federal or state regulations for protecting the water quality within its jurisdictional boundaries. Stormwater management means the planning, accusation, design, construction, regulation, improvement, repair, rehabilitation, maintenance, and operation of property, facilities, and programs relating to water, floodplains, flood control, grading, erosion, conservation, riparian buffers, and settlement control. Stormwater management plan means a set of drawings and other documents that comprise all the information and specifications for the program's drainage system structures, BMPs, concepts, and techniques intended to maintain or restore quality and quantity of stormwater runoff to pre-development levels. Stormwater runoff means flow on the surface of the ground resulting from precipitation. Stormwater system or system means all stormwater facilities, stormwater drainage systems, and flood protection systems of the city and all improvements thereto that operate to, among other things, control discharges and flows necessitated by rainfall events and incorporate methods to collect, convey, store, absorb, inhibit, treat, prevent, or reduce flooding, over drainage, environmental degradation, and water pollution or otherwise affect the quality and quantity of discharge for such systems. Stream means surface water that is not a wet weather conveyance. Rules and regulations of the state of Tennessee, chapter 1200-4-3.0420. Structural BMPs means devices that are constructed to provide control of stormwater runoff. Surety is a letter of credit or other acceptable form of assurance for the completion of improvements as deemed acceptable by the city attorney. Surface waters are waters upon the surface of the earth in bounds created naturally, artificially, including but not limited to streams, other water courses, lakes, ponds, wetlands, marshes, and sinkholes. Undeveloped property means property that is in its natural state and has not been developed, does not have impervious surface on it. Users means for developed, non-exempt property, the person listed as receiving utility service, or if there is no such service or person listed, the property owner. It may also mean the property owner of the property with multiple utility service accounts on such property. Vacant is a property on which there is no structure for which a certificate of occupancy has been issued. Water course means a man-made or natural hydraulic feature with a defined linear channel which discreetly conveys flowing water as opposed to sheet flow. Rules and regulations of State of Tennessee, chapter 1200-4-3-0424. Blah, blah, blah.
We're almost halfway through it.
Water quality buffer is a strip of dense, undisturbed, perennial native vegetation, either original or reestablished, that border streams and rivers, ponds and lakes, wetlands and seas. Buffer zones are established for the purpose of slowing water runoff, enhancing water infiltration, and minimizing the risk of any potential nutrients or pollutants for leaving the upland area and reaching surface waters. Buffer zones are most effective when stormwater runoff is flowing into and through the buffer zone as shallow sheet flow, rather than in concentrated form, such as in channels, gullies, or wet weather conveyances. Therefore, it is critical that the design of any development include management practices to the maximum extent practical that will result in stormwater runoff flowing into and through the buffer zone and shallow sheet flow. Buffer zones are established for the primary purpose of protecting water quality and maintaining a healthy aquatic ecosystem and receiving water. Waters of the state means any and all water, public or private, on or beneath the surface of the ground, which are contained within, flow through, or border upon Tennessee or any portion thereof, except those bodies of water confined to and retained within the limits of private property and single ownership that do not combine or effect a junction with natural surface or underground waters. TCA code 69-3-103. Wetlands means those areas that are inundated or saturated by surface or groundwater at a frequency and duration sufficient to support a prevalence of vegetation typically adapted to life in saturated soil conditions. Wetlands include, but are not limited to swamps, marshes, bogs, and similar areas. Wet weather conveyances are man-made or natural water courses, including natural water courses that have been modified by channelization that flow only in direct response to precipitation runoff in their immediate locally, whose channels are at all times above the groundwater table, that are not suitable for drinking water supplies, and in which hydrological or biological analysis indicate that under normal weather conditions due to naturally occurring ephemeral or low flow, there is not sufficient water to support fish or multiple populations of obligated lotic aquatic organisms whose life cycle includes an aquatic phase of at least 2 months. Rules and regulations of the state of Tennessee, chapter 0400-40-3.043. Marlene?
Article 3, land disturbance permit. Number 1, general, the land disturbance permit process is designed to track all applicable land disturbance activities to ensure that they are monitored for compliant erosion prevention and sediment control, and the absence of illicit discharges, leaving the site in compliance with any applicable TDEC construction general or individual permits, TDEC aquatic resources alteration permits, and any other relevant permits. Tracking of these activities allows inspection and in cases of non-compliance, enforcement actions to be taken. Number 2, applicability. The land disturbance permit shall be required for any land disturbing activity meeting any of the following requirements. A, land disturbance is greater than 1 acre. B, change in elevation of property greater than 1 foot or more. C, land disturbance of less than 1 acre if such activities are part of a larger common plan of development, even though multiple, that is, a part of separate and distinct land development activities that may take place at different times on different schedules. D, any land disturbance that requires coverage under the TDEC construction general permit. E, any disturbance that requires coverage under the TDEC ARAP. F, any disturbance requires TDEC underground injection well permit. And G, any disturbance that the city determines that discharges from the site are causing, contributing to, or are likely to contribute to a violation of the state's water quality standards. 3, exemptions. The following land disturbance activities are exempt from the requirements of obtaining a land disturbance permit. A, surface mining, as is defined by Tennessee Code annotated section 59-A-202. B, such minor land disturbing activities as home gardens, and individual home landscaping, home repairs, home additions or modifications, home maintenance work, and other relative activities that result in no soil erosion leaving the site. C, agricultural practices involving the establishment, cultivation, or harvesting of products in the field or orchard, preparing and planting of pasture land, farm ponds, dairy operations, livestock, and poultry management practices, and the construction of farm buildings. D, any project carried out under the technical supervision of the NRCS, TDEC, or ACOE. E, installation, maintenance, and repair of any underground public utility lines when such activities occur on an existing land, existing hard surface, road, street, or sidewalk, which is hard surface, and such street, curb, gutter, or sidewalk construction has been approved. F, construction, repair, or rebuilding of tracks or other facilities of a railroad company. G, any emergency activity that is immediately necessary for the protection of life, property, or national resources. These activities may be undertaken without a land disturbance permit. However, the persons conducting these excluded activities shall remain responsible for the conducting these activities in accordance with provisions of the ordinance and other applicable regulations, including responsibility of controlling sediment, illicit discharge, and runoff. 4, supplemental permit. In cases where the separate operator owner will be working within the area already covered by the existing land disturbance permit, a supplemental land disturbance permit shall be obtained. The application fee is waived for any supplemental permit. All site operations are required to obtain a supplemental land disturbance permit prior to work commencing. Where applicable, prior to insurance of the supplemental land disturbance permit, the applicant must show coverage under the site NPDES construction general permit. Once covered by a permit, all site operations are to be considered as co-permittees if their involvement in the construction activities affects the same project site and are held jointly and severally responsible for complying with the terms of the permit. 5, application. Application for land disturbance permit shall be made to the city of Cross Plains. No land disturbing activities shall take place prior to approval of the land disturbance permit. 6, permit requirements. The following are conditions of the land disturbance permit coverage. Any violations of these conditions will make the permit holder subject to all enforcement actions and penalties obtained in Articles 9 and 10 of this ordinance. A, supplemental and approval by the City of Cross Plains of grading, drainage, and erosion prevention and sediment control plan. B, compliance with the site TDAC construction general permit, TDAC RAP, TDAC underground ejection well permit, Cross Plains floodplain development permit, and other federal and state permits where applicable. C, compliance and approval, erosion prevention and sedimentation control plan, and EPSC performance standards outlined in Article 5. D, implementation and maintenance of appropriate erosion prevention and sediment control best management practices. E, construction site operations must control waste such as discarded buildings, materials, construction trucks, washout, chemicals, litter, and sanitation waste at the construction site to avoid adverse influence impacts to water quality. Thank you.
Number 7, land disturbance surety. Prior to the issuance of the permit of any land disturbance activity affecting more than 5 acres, the applicant shall be required to provide a land disturbance surety to the City of Cross Plains to guarantee completion of all land and grade stabilization measures and improvements as shown by the approved grading plan. Smaller areas when potentially hazardous soils or drainage conditions exist due to types of soils, steep grades, floodplain, development, or nearby lakes, streams, or large drainage ditches. The applicant may be required, at the discretion of the City of Cross Plains, to provide a surety as agreed upon by the city to guarantee completion of all land and grade stabilization measures and improvements shown by the approved plan. Number 8, permit duration. Every land disturbance permit shall expire and become null and void when one of the following has occurred. 6 months of no activity has occurred. Final stabilization of the site for the approval plans has occurred. Issuance of the TDAC notice of termination. 3 years of issuance of permit. In the case of public infrastructure, acceptance by the City of Cross Plains has occurred. In cases of expiration of the land disturbance permit, the permit may be reissued with no additional fee if the plan and scope of the project submitted on the original land disturbance permit does not change significantly. Article 4, stormwater management performance standards. Number 1, general, in order to address stormwater management for the new development and redevelopment and to prevent or minimize water quality impacts performance standards are set forth comprising of runoff reduction, pollutant removal, and runoff quantity requirements. Stormwater shall be managed such that post-development hydrology does not exceed the pre-development hydrology at the site, in accordance with the performance standards contained in this section. Applicability. The following stormwater performance standards apply to the new development, redevelopment projects that disturb greater than or equal to 1 acre, including projects with less than 1 acre that are part of a larger common plan of development. Stormwater design and BMP manuals. The city adopts as its stormwater design and best management practices manual the following publication, which is incorporated by the reference by the ordinance as it fully set out herein. Latest edition of City of Nashville Stormwater Management Manual, volumes 1 through 4, latest edition of Tennessee Erosion Sediment Control Handbook, the latest edition of TDOT Manual of Management of Stormwater Discharges associated with construction activity. The city may grant stormwater variances from certain requirements as necessary. Number 4, downstream flooding performance criteria. To prevent stormwater flooding, post-development flow rates for the 2-year through 100-year 24-hour storm events must be controlled to release at rates equal to or less than the pre-development flows, with the emergency overflow capable of handling the 100-year discharge. Downstream flood protection provided by the alternative approach may be considered instead of controlling the 2-year through 100-year 24-hour storm, provided that significant hydraulic analysis shows that the alternative approach will offer adequate flooding protection for the downstream properties. Flooding protection provided by the alternative approach must be approved by the city of Cross Plains. Number 5, general performance criteria. Stormwater discharges to critical areas within the sensitive resources may be subject to additional performance criteria or need to be utilized to restrict certain stormwater management procedures. Stormwater discharges from hot spots may require the application of specific structural BMPs and pollution prevention practices, and hydraulic and topographic conditions warrant greater control than provided by these performance standards. The city may impose any and all additional requirements deemed necessary to control the volume, timing, rate, and treatment of the runoff. Water quality buffers. Number 6, a permanent water quality buffer zone shall be required along all wetlands, streams, sinkholes as defined in this ordinance for new development, redevelopment projects as outlined below. Drainage areas less than 1 square mile, minimum 30 feet wide. Drainage areas greater than 1 square mile, minimum 60 feet wide. For redevelopment projects that have existing encroachments into the prescribed buffer, the portion of the existing encroachment shall contain a footprint within the buffer is accepted. If no modification or existing use of the encroachment is to occur, it does not violate the objectives of Article 4. If the existing encroachment is to remain in use, the encroachment amount shall be factored into the average buffer width in determining the buffer width. Work with the water quality buffer is allowance for the following types of work: Work covered and approved by ERAP, CGP, permit approved by TDAC, and construction/maintenance of greenways and parks. Sinkhole injection well.
Here, I'll take it up. Take a break. Sinkhole injection well policy. A TDEC projection well permit is required for any use or modification of the sinkhole injection well. B, drainage calculations shall be permitted for any development in and around sinkholes. C, minimum standards for flood management around sinkholes are based on the 100-year 24-hour design storm, assuming plugged conditions, 0 CFS outflow for the sinkhole. D, for any runoff draining to a sinkhole from a developed area, 80% treatment criteria must be met as outlined in this ordinance and the City of Nashville Stormwater Management Manual. E, post-development flows and volume shall not exceed pre-development flows and volume entering into a sinkhole. F, any capping of the sinkhole shall be done under the direction and approval of the city. Drainage formerly entering the capped sinkhole shall be accounted for and meet the standards outlined in 4(3) above. Article 5, erosion prevention and sediment control performance standards. Number 1, general. In order to address construction site runoff management for new development and redevelopment and to prevent or minimize pollutants from construction activities, performance standards are set forth comprising of erosion prevention and sediment control requirements. 2, applicability. The performance standards outlined in this article shall be implemented in any new development and redevelopment project that serves greater than one area, including projects less than 1 acre that are part of a larger common plan of development, along with any project that requires a land disturbance permit as outlined in Article 3 of this ordinance. Number 3, erosion prevention and sediment control, EPSC design and DPM manuals. A, the city adopts as its EPSC design and best management practices manuals the following publications, which are incorporated by reference in this ordinance, as is fully set out herein. 1, TDEC Erosion Prevention and Sediment Control Handbook. 2, TDOT Manual for Management of Stormwater Discharges associated with construction activity. Number 4, General Performance Criteria for EPSC Management. Following performance criteria shall be addressed for EPSC management at all sites. A, all construction site operators shall implement appropriate EPSC best practices. All best BMPs shall be consistent with those described in the above reference design and DPM manuals to meet the current DDEC construction general permit requirements. EPSC design must meet the requirements for design, storms, and special conditions for impaired waters as outlined in the latest DDEC construction general permit. C, all construction site operators shall control waste materials, including but not limited to discarded building materials, concrete and truck washout, chemicals, litter, and sanitary waste to avoid adverse impacts to water quality. D, if hydrologic, soil, or topographic conditions warrant greater control than that provided by these performance standards, the City of Cross Plains may impose any and all requirements deemed necessary to control the discharge of sediment or other illicit discharges to water of the state. All applicable sites not meeting these criteria are subject to all enforcement actions and penalties outlined in Articles 9 and 10 of this ordinance. Article 6, post-construction. General, to ensure the long-term maintenance and effectiveness of stormwater facilities, the surety for completion As-built plans and maintenance and inspection programs are required for new and existing development. Number 2, surety. Depending on the type and size of the development, the city may hold a surety to ensure the completion of the development to city standards. The amount of the surety will be determined by the city based on the cost to complete the stormwater facilities. All sureties must contain automatic renewal provisions in language satisfactory to the city. Before the final release of the surety, all stormwater, EPSC, and stabilization measures must be completed, stabilized, and functioning to the satisfaction of the city. Number 3, as-built plans. Prior to the release of the surety for completion of the stormwater facilities, as-built plans are to be submitted for any stormwater facilities after final construction is completed. The plan must show that final construction facilities will function as approved, meet the performance standards outlined in the ordinance. Plans shall be stamped by a Tennessee licensed surveyor. Any discrepancy between the final constructed facilities and the approved design shall be noted on the as-built plan. Where required by the city, updated calculations stamped by a Tennessee licensed engineer shall be submitted and approved to the city, by the city, showing that the as-constructed facilities will function adequately to meet the performance standards of the stormwater ordinance. Both digital CAD and paper copies shall be provided in the Tennessee State Plane Coordinate System, NAD 83 and NAVD 88. The following shall be shown in the plan. 1. Invert elevation, top of casting elevation, slope location and material of all heights, drainage, inlets, outlets, junctions, etc. Number 2, size and material of all outlet dissipation pads. Number 3, ditch size, slope, and materials. 4, top of berm elevations on all drainage facilities. 5, volume of all retention facilities. 6, location and description of all permanent stormwater BPMs. Examples, rain garden, previous payment, buffer, etc. You want to grab it from there?
Sure. Sure. Existing stormwater management facilities, maintenance, and inspection. The city may, to the extent authorized by state and federal law, enter and inspect private property to determine if there are illicit non-stormwater discharges and to verify that all stormwater management facilities are functioning within the design limits. These inspections may be performed randomly or in response to complaints or violations. Article 7, illicit discharges. Applicability. This section shall apply to all water generated on developed or undeveloped land entering the city's separate storm sewer system, including water generated by hotspots. Prohibition of illicit discharges. No person shall introduce or cause to be introduced into the storm sewer system any discharge that is not composed entirely of storm water. Non-stormwater discharges shall include, but shall not be limited to, sanitary wastewater, car wash wastewater, radiator flush disposal, spills from roadway accidents, carpet cleaning wastewater, influent from septic tanks.
You got them tapes?
Yeah.
We're not gonna read this thing, we're gonna play the tape next time.
You want to read a while, Dan?
Yeah, I'll be glad to, let me go to the bathroom first.
They brought me one that wasn't rewound. Everybody needed a break.
A whole lot of the stuff is repetitive. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just going over the same thing.
I don't even know what it means.
Next time.
We just play the tape. Good idea, Barry. Everybody grab a chair. Start back with prohibition of illicit discharges.
Okay, bear with us, we'd like about 5, 6 more pages.
No person shall introduce or cause to be introduced into the storm sewer system any discharge that is not composed entirely of stormwater. Non-stormwater discharges shall include, but shall not be limited to, sanitary wastewater, car wash wastewater, radiator flushing, disposal, spills from roadway accidents, carpet cleaning wastewater, influent from septic tanks, improper oil disposal, laundry wastewater, gray water, improper disposal of auto and household toxins, the commencement, conduct, and continuance of any non-stormwater discharge to the municipal separate storm sewer system is provided except as described as follows. A. Uncontaminated discharges from the following sources. 1. Water lines, flushing, or other potable water sources. 2. Landscape irrigation or lawn watering with potable water, diverted steam flows. 3. Rising groundwater. 4. Groundwater infiltration to storm drains, pumped groundwater. 5. Discharges from portable water sources. 6. Foundation of footing drains, lawn watering. 7. Crawl space pumps. 8. Air conditioning condensations. 9. Springs. 10. Non-commercial washing of vehicles. 11. Natural riparian habitat or wetland flows. 12. Swimming pools if dechlorinated, typically less than 1 ppm chlorine. 13. Street wash water. 14. Firefighting activities. 15. Any other uncontaminated water source. B. Discharges specified in writing by the city as being necessary to protect public health and safety. C. Dye testing. D. Discharges authorized by the TDEC construction general permit, which comply with section 3.5.9 of the same. 1. Dewatering of work areas of collected stormwater and groundwater. Filtering or chemical treatment may be necessary prior to discharge. 2. Water used to wash vehicles of dust and soil, not processed materials such as oils, asphalt, or concrete, where detergents are not used and detection and or filtering is provided before the water leaves the site. 3. Water used to control dust in accordance with section 3.5.5. 4. Potable water sources, including water line flushing from which chlorine has been removed to the maximum extent practicable. 5. Routine external building washdown that does not use detergents or other chemicals. 6. Uncontaminated groundwater or spring water. And 7. Foundation or footing drains which flows are not contaminated with pollutants. Processed materials such as solvents, heavy materials, etc. 3. Prohibition of illicit connections, the construction, use, maintenance, or continued existence of illicit connections to the sewer system is prohibited. The prohibition expressly includes, without limitations, illicit connections made in the past, regardless of whether the connection was permissible under law or practices applicable or prevailing at the time of connection. 4. Reduction of stormwater pollutants by the use of best management practices. Any person responsible for a property or premises which is or may be the source of an illicit discharge may be required to implement at the person's expense the BMPs necessary to prevent the further discharge of pollutants to the storm sewer system. Compliance with all terms and conditions of a valid NPDES permit authorizing the discharge of stormwater associated with industrial activity to the extent practicable shall be deemed in compliance with the provision of this section. Notification of spills. Notwithstanding other requirements of law, as soon as any person responsible for a facility or operation or responsible for emergency response for a facility or operation has information of any known or suspected release of materials which are resulting in or may result in illicit discharges or pollutants discharging into the stormwater, the storm sewer system, the person shall take all necessary steps to ensure the discovery, containment, and cleanup of such release. In the event of such a release of hazardous materials, the person shall immediately notify emergency response agencies of the occurrence via emergency dispatch services. In the event of a release of non-hazardous materials, the person shall notify the city in person or by telephone, fax, or email no later than the next business day. Notifications in person or by telephone shall be confirmed by written notice, addressed, and mailed to the city within 3 business days of the telephone notice. If the discharge of prohibited materials emanates from a commercial or industrial establishment, the owner or operator of such establishment shall also retain an on-site written record of the discharge and the actions taken to prevent its reoccurrence. Such records shall be retained for at least 3 years. 6. No illegal dumping allowed. No person shall dump or otherwise deposit outside an authorized landfill, convenience center, or other authorized garbage or trash collection point any trash or garbage of any kind or description of any private or public property, occupied or unoccupied, into the city. Article 8, Floodway, Floodplain. All provisions of the City of Cross Plains Municipal Floodplain Ordinance, as outlined in 44 Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, Part 60 of the shall be followed. Article 9, Enforcement, General. In order to enforce the provisions of this ordinance, the City of Cross Plains shall have the authority to issue notice of violations, stop work orders, suspend construction activities, suspend the issuance of building permits, withhold approval of plans, and impose civil penalties. 2. The provisions of this article shall be applicable to all new and existing constructions, existing residential, commercial, and industrial development, hotspots, and any such property or facility which causes violations of the provisions of this ordinance. Article 10, Penalties. Violations. Any person who shall commit any act declared unlawful under the chapter, who violates any provision of this chapter, who violates the provisions of any permit issued pursuant to this chapter, or who fails to refuse to comply with any lawful communication or notice to abate or take corrective action by the City of Cross Plains, shall be guilty of a civil offense. Penalties. Under the authority provided in Tennessee Code Annotated 68-221-1106, the city declares that any person violating the provisions of this chapter may be assessed a civil penalty by the City of Cross Plains of not less than $50 and not more than $5,000 per day for each day of violation. Each day of violation shall constitute a separate violation. Measuring civil penalties. In assessing a civil penalty, the City of Cross Plains may consider A, the harm is done to the public health or the environment, B, whether civil penalty imposed will be a substantial economic deterrent to the illegal activity, C, the economic benefit gained by the violator, D, the amount of effort put forth by the violator to remedy this violation, E, any unusual or extraordinary enforcement costs incurred by the city, F, the amount of penalty established by ordinance or resolution for specific categories of violations, and G, any equities of the situation which outweigh the benefit of imposing any penalty or damage assessment. 4. Recovery of damages and costs. In addition to civil penalties in subsection 2 above, the city may recover A, all damages approximately caused by the violator to the city, which may include any reasonable expenses incurred in investigating violations of and enforcing compliance with this chapter, or any other actual damages caused by the violation. B, the cost of the city's maintenance of stormwater facilities when the user of such facilities fails to maintain them as required by this chapter. 5. Other remedies. The city may bring legal action to enjoin the continuing violation of this chapter, and the existence of any remedy at law or equity shall be no defense to any such action.
You want to finish too?
I got it.
Let me finish.
Okay, finish, Chip.
Number 6, remedies cumulative. The remedies set forth in this section shall be cumulative, not exclusive, and it shall not be a defense to any action, civil or criminal, that one or more remedies set forth herein has been sought or granted. Property classification rates for review fees.
Amen. That's what.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
Only took you down.
I make the motion that we adopt the ordinance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Floor is open for discussion.
I'll read. Mine will be quick, because I have marked what I'm gonna read. This is a legal opinion from MTAS, and it's current. It was just reviewed in October 23. I've tabbed the places that I'm gonna read. Does the city have any legal obligation to develop a stormwater management program? The answer is no. I've
Right.
tabbed it. You not have a tab?
Yeah, I got the tab.
Okay.
Why don't you just, before you read this, or if you want to read it, get to your point. Are you saying you don't want a stormwater ordinance?
Well, based on what I just listened to, I have no idea what was just said. It sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Well, you had a chance to read it in advance before
I
we read
did,
it
believe
today.
me, I did.
We had an engineering firm prepare it. We then had our city attorney review it, edit it, and so forth. And so, I honestly can be persuaded either way, I suppose, but have you read the state of Tennessee stormwater ordinance?
I've done a lot of extensive
Well,
reading.
answer that question though. Have you read the state?
I have no idea what you're talking about. So the
Well,
answer to
if
that
we
is
don't have this, then we fall on the state regulation.
well, can you provide that to me where I can see the state is telling us that we have to do this?
No
Sam, do
one,
you have that?
you don't, wait a minute. No one is telling us we have to do
Then
this.
what are you telling me then?
I'm telling you that in the absence of a city stormwater ordinance, if there are issues that come up, then we have to rely on the state. The state has regulations. It's just like with planning and zoning. There's a state zoning, there are state zoning regulations. We choose to have a city zoning ordinance because while the state ordinances provide a nice foundation, they're not community specific. So,
This was community specific?
well, sure, we get to require a surety bond from developers to make sure that they, what they tell us they're gonna build, just like we do with roads and so forth. So no one is telling us we have to do this. And if you guys don't wanna do it, that's fine, we just rely on the state documents, but you better get familiar with them.
I can do that.
But why would we? Why will we not have our own?
Let me read this last statement to you.
Okay.
When a city adopts a stormwater management program, every stormwater problem, no matter how minor or heretofore private, becomes the city's problem. You are putting us in a liability situation.
It becomes our problem anyway. They call up here. It happens all the time. And then we go out there without any authority to do
But
it.
you just said we have state authority.
Call the state people in. Is that what you want to do? Is just abdicate our communities to the state government?
So all of this basically goes back to the interstate development.
Right.
And what is the status of that right now?
Well, wait a minute, we're not gonna talk about that part. Let's solve this problem.
All right.
Let's try to get too far ahead. So that's what it all boiled down to, Sherry. They come in, they get a building permit. We have to send it to another engineering firm. We're not capable of doing the engineering work out there. So they set the parameters for the contractor, the developer, and if they don't follow it, then this is where we come back. They posted a bond.
Well, based on what what was just read tonight, we're gonna have a whole department to do this. This is not something Daniel or Stan or Tommy
Wait
can
a minute,
do.
wait a minute. You get a little bit too carried away. If it does happen, at that point in time, then we call the engineering firm and they come on board, and whatever they charge, we have to charge the developer. If we don't use them, if it sits out there for 15 years, we're sitting here with a document, and if it happens tomorrow, we've got this document to go forward. So that's all we've done tonight is adopt something in case it were to happen. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Barge Wagner, or what do they call it now, just Barge?
Yeah.
They're our engineer, and this was probably a recommendation.
They advised us that we needed to sort, but they didn't tell us we had to have one. No one has said that in any
It'd
of
be nice
these.
for them to come up here and talk to us about it. Could we have
We can get them up here for about $1,000 an hour. And we might not ever use them, but this is what their recommendation is, to adopt this, and just say they come out there and they want to build a 15-acre warehouse or something. At that point in time, we put Barge on the clock, and they will bill us, we will bill the developer. So there'll be no money spent. Our money will all be for the developer. So all we're doing is just having the document on hand, just like the ordinance books are full of all these same documents in there that cover things. Sam, you want to explain anything?
I'm over it. I think that you should have had it way before they started digging by the interstate. So,
But with what I read here, CDOT is exempt.
they're not exempt from this.
That was something that, when I said it was CDOT,
So
because I just,
they can actually come in, we could inspect it, Daniel could inspect it. If he was certified I'm certified to inspect it, but I can't do it because I'm definitely conflict of interest. But if, say, Daniel got certified to inspect it, he could go out and inspect the runoff and make the requirement changes. The associate, whoever it is, has 7 days to repair it. After the 7 days, if Daniel goes out and, they ain't done nothing.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to just make sure we keep the horse in front of the car here. What we're adopting, if someone were to want to develop at that point in time,
I know what you're talking about.
we're calling Barge. We don't have the expertise. They're going to come in and set the parameters, and our engineer, our city developer, our planner will be there. But from then on, Barge will handle it. If they're 10 years later, if there's a problem, the city of Cross Plains didn't get sued. Barge company will be the one, because they've done the inspection, they've done the site work. Is that the way it was, Chip, when we talked to them?
Yeah, that's right. You're correct.
We won't be doing
Plan
the inspection.
review.
Yeah, that's on the initial, that's the stage 1 of the process, and then there's like a state of a primary and a secondary. So who will be inspecting the secondary?
I don't know if they'll actually go out and inspect or to the point we have Daniel certified to inspect, but regardless, we need
Well,
a local ordinance to support.
I agree.
If that water starts running off out there,
well, to me, it's it's just real simple. They come in, they want to do a development, they come in, they present the plans to the planning board. At that point in time, they give their approval, it comes before the city commission. At that point in time, we proceed and go forward. Barge comes on duty then.
well, they're already on because they've reviewed all the plans.
So they'll come in and do the inspection and shoot the grades and everything, and, Daniel, I mean, they'll do the inspection of the buildings, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, I can do it. I mean, I do it in Bowling Green. I'm certified in Bowling Green. I get whatever certification out here. It's not.
Okay.
It's not a big deal for me. I mean, I do it all the time.
Well, I have a question. I wasn't here when all this was going on, but I heard about it when Mr. Bohannon lived over here and he was complaining about Dookie cleaning out over there and he was having runoff on him. How would this apply in a situation like that? I mean, we keep talking about the interstate, but we've got runoff situations with neighbor versus neighbor. How is this applying to those situations?
Well, we'd have to look at each
Am I telling
situation.
that story correctly, Vicki?
Yes, and I mean, is the public allowed to say anything? I mean, I don't want to step my bounds
Well,
here.
because, I mean,
But-
I know his story just a little
But
bit.
Terry,
I heard
you know,
about
you
it.
got, if I want to develop my property, and according to your status, it's on the development side, Terry's Market's already established, Dollar Store's already established, Febury's already established, and all that runoff water goes where? Or, the Cross Plains don't have a stormwater act.
They never have had one.
No, so what, where do we cross the line there?
When do we decide we need one? So,
That's right,
That's what I'm
but if I go to
asking
develop,
about.
what
I mean,
step
we
would I
didn't
take
meet
when the
them,
water's
and
already coming on me?
this doesn't address things that are already, essentially what we're saying is that everything that happened in the past is the past, but we're trying to control how this looks going forward, right? So I don't know if this gives teeth to us to go out to an existing situation, to be honest with you.
I don't either, that's strictly what I'm asking.
But at what point do we start to care? I know you care because the runoff's coming on you. At what point as a community do we care enough to pass our own ordinance and enforce, make sure new construction's done correctly, retention, detention ponds are built properly, that new construction isn't causing further runoff into our streams and erosion of the land, and that's what the purpose of this is.
It won't give you any teeth for what's existing now. I mean, there's nothing in there for that. But you're right, it's what's
Going
happen
forward.
from now on.
So we didn't have anything in place when Dollar General was built or Terry's Market. So I'm sure the planning board tried to talk to them about rainwater and runoff. But at the end of the day, we really didn't have anything in the code for it.
Right.
So there wasn't anything they could really do.
I
Construction
mean,
is,
from my standpoint, why would you not want to have this in place to properly handle?
Because there's some liabilities, forever liability on the
What
city.
would be the negative impact of being liable for properly handling stormwater runoff?
If we got sued, we would go from a city that has $1 million in the bank to we had $1 million in the bank.
well, that is just absolutely not true. We have insurance to cover lawsuits, Jerry. Let's speak truth there if we're gonna speak. We've never been sued, the city, not in the 28 years I've been here, that ever cost us a dime out of the account, except when the commissioners were sued 28 years ago, whatever that was. But only because the city voted to reimburse attorney fees. No, we've never had a payout in 28 years. So let's don't try to put fear in people's hearts.
I think probably anything you pass up there, you could always say you would be liable. You know, you could be sued for anything you pass.
That's right.
We gotta have a public hearing about this.
So do we close the park? Because if the kid goes down there and plays football and breaks a leg, are we gonna get sued? For negligence, because our police officers weren't down there, our park director was not down there during the football game.
He's gonna be
Is he gonna get, we can't run scared.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. We've got a motion, we've got a second. And I made the motion, and
Sam seconded.
Marlene, how do you vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Sherry, you vote yes or no?
No.
The motion carries. We'll have a public hearing at, the next monthly meeting. Next on the agenda. Let's see here.
We got a permit for rally.
Yeah. That's a little lady that works, down at, her dad works at, Piggly Wiggly. And she's wanting to do the, roadblock for St. Jude's children. I think last year, what'd she do, courtesy?
Last year she raised, I think, like $5,300. She won the trophy and several other things where she raised the most amount of money, I think, in the state of Tennessee as an individual child.
Does she do all that here? I mean,
She does it. They have chili cook-offs.
Yeah.
They've had.
Yeah, she came up here and, asked us. So, she's wanting to do the roadblock on March the 30th, 8 to noon, and she'll have, some adult supervision
Yeah,
with her.
Randall will be there, his wife will be there.
Last year, they only had adults doing it, she was actually off the side in the parking lot.
We're looking for a motion to allow her. Second?
I'll second it.
Well, all in favor? Okay. Can you tell Randall for us?
Thank you.
Okay. Fire department, we had 103 calls, 82 were outside the city limits, 21 were within the city. The police department had 62 calls, and we had a lot of, activity, the cold weather and the ice, and, but, we come through pretty good. So, Chip, you got anything else?
I'm gonna give my time to the Parks Director. Yep, anything you wanna talk about?
I think I'm getting sued, guys.
No, I'm good, Parks is fine.
Okay.
Hearing up from policy.
So I'm gonna give my time to the sewer discussion.
Okay. So no new business. So last month we were talking about the sewer deal. I think we,
I just wanna explain what we have here.
yeah,
If you don't mind, we have Mr. Ademus.
yeah. Matt Nix is back with us, so,
Thank you, Matt. You're here to answer.
be handy there for a minute. Thanks for coming up here. I hate you had to listen to all that. We could have told you to be here an hour later. So I didn't know you were coming. I would have told you.
So we essentially, asked for pricing on a couple of different options, and then we expanded that to include 4 different options. So just to make sure you understand what these numbers represent. Option A, $549,500 is to extend the sewer pipe from the existing system up there near the interstate down to Kilgore Trace. It adds no additional capacity to that system. It's just getting the lines run. Option B was what we had talked about a couple of months ago. City donates land for a separate treatment facility from this land just to the west of us, and they would install a drip dispersal discharge, taking approximately 4 acres. The key there is the additional treatment capacity is 9,300 gallons per day. Seemed a little bit in our public comments that might not be enough capacity to handle everyone who may want to get on board. And so we went with an option C. We asked to get a price on option C, which was to do the same exact thing as B, but also make the capacity larger, 30,000 gallons per day, which ultimately for sure will cover our needs here in the downtown area. And then option D, just for a basis of comparison, is if we expand that plant and run the lines, the 16,000 linear feet from the existing plant, make it larger to handle more capacity, and then run lines downtown. That price is $1,284,000. So that's what these 4 prices are.
Hey, Chip, I don't think you gave a price on Steve, did you?
I didn't give a price on the 2 middle ones at all, and I just skipped over it. So let me go back. Option A just run the pipe, $549,500. Option B, to put a treatment facility right over here and just run it into this area, $494,600. Option C, which is to do the same thing, is build a facility large enough to handle 30 gallons per day, $985,100. And option D, to extend all the way out to the interstate and increase that capacity to 30,000 gallons per day, $1,284,000. Thanks for pointing that out again. I just went too fast. So that's what this is. I think it was emailed to you maybe yesterday, just so you'd have a chance to look at it before tonight's meeting. The other thing we had talked about doing was surveying the people here. And so, I don't know, I'll turn it back over to you, but I wanted to explain what was sent out.
Okay, so, we made a form.
Y'all all got a copy of the letter that we typed up.
So we send that to every property owner from basically the cemetery up to Kilgore Trace here. And, that's very simple. If you would like to consider, and you having trouble, there's no commitment, just say, I'm in favor of, proceeding forward. If I'm in good shape, I don't need it, just check that.
Well, I can read it. You want me to read
Yeah,
it?
read it.
All right.
What about the property that's located?
Hold on, Doug.
Yeah, let me read this and then we'll.
Okay.
We're gonna come to the podium and
Yeah.
sign in.
Dear property owners, the city of Cross Plains through the Robertson County Commission has been named a recipient in a federal grant. The grant offers us the opportunity to install a sewer line into the downtown area of our city. This will help many of our residents and businesses who currently have problems with septic systems. There will be a cost to hook onto the system, however, that cost has not been determined at this point. The city would like to have your feedback on whether you would be interested in tying into the new sewer down Highway 25. Please let us know as soon as possible if you're interested in hooking into the new sewer line. A stamped self-addressed envelope is enclosed for your convenience in responding. Please let us know if you have any concerns or questions. Thank you in advance for your quick response. The City of Cross Plains Commission.
Okay, let me make just one statement here. Because, we've got a few people that don't want it. We've got a lot of people that do want it. But I think the beauty of the whole thing is, if you don't want on, you don't have to get on. Now, a lot of these systems that are put in, on a new system, it has to pay for itself. You can't take taxpayers, tax revenue and help support the system. The sewer system has to pay for itself. And that's right, isn't it, Matt? I mean, if it was just a brand new system that was gonna take over.
If we were doing a on-site system for some development,
Yeah,
everybody inside that development has to connect to it.
mandatory. You have to be on. So on this one, at this point in time, you don't want on, that's fine. But surely to goodness, you see the value of being able to. So if you got a piece of property, you're having trouble, you're gonna welcome it. If you don't, that's great. Just like me, I don't need it. I'm good. But I've got a lot of friends, I've got a lot of people and constituents that live in this area that do need it. Doing my job is the only way I can see fit. So trying to put it available, 10 years from now, the system's in, it's working. If you weren't on it at the time, maybe you sell it, and whoever at that point in time, then that would be a selling advantage for you to get on. It might come a time where you don't have a choice, and we've got a few of these properties. It's running out on top of the ground. I took a call this week about that. What am I going to do? So that's kind of where we're at. So I think one day it'll be mandatory. the ground is, I mean, it's just like a sponge, and I'm not trying to be anything other than truthful here. So, I think when we talked the last time, what if, I think like Curtis said, well, what if, there's no more capacity that would take me? I'm down here at the end of the line. So that's why we wanted this form. If you want on, and we know that for sure, then we can come back from that and say, these people want on if the tap fees and everything is reasonable and they feel like that's where they need to go. And if we get enough to say there's not, then maybe we don't have to. We can go with this smaller system and move forward. Does that make sense? So we've got the form. What I'd like to do is send that form. If you don't want on, just say I'm not interested. Send it back so we'll know. If you do want on,
Are we to the point to send this form out? I mean,
I think we are
because we haven't made a decision yes or no yet, and we're kind of telling them for sure that this is happening. And so that's, I mean, are we giving them, I want to make sure that we're giving true information.
Well, that's what we need to know.
But we haven't said, yes, we're gonna have.
We have been awarded the grants.
If we accept
If
it.
we accept.
And we haven't accepted it yet.
That's right.
I just don't want to give false information out in a letter that could be misconstrued as.
Tell me how you would do it.
I'm just asking.
I need to know.
I'm asking.
I know it, but I need to know.
Can we wait?
Are we to the point
Well,
where this letter yet?
Well, wait a second. Matt can't size the system to determine which of these options are even feasible for us. He just did cost estimates.
Yeah, that's all.
And these are only if, say, this land is applicable for what needs to happen too. I mean, this is all still a big
That's right.
if situation. So I just don't want to ever have, I don't want to be in a point where we're giving out false information. I just want to make sure that we're giving out.
I think it states in there, if we decide to go forward, doesn't it say something to that effect?
Well, I don't know, but it can.
Yeah, we can say that.
If we decide to go forward.
And then maybe it needs to say, you know, a grant is available if we accept it, or, you know,
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I think that's.
So all we're trying to do is to calculate the gallons per day so that we know what size would really be needed to answer anyone's question who says, I'm at the end of the line and I'm not going to be able to even tie in, which came up in the last public comments.
That's what I took away from the last meeting, that how do we know we've got enough capacity? Is that right? I mean, that was the main question. Do we have enough capacity to do A? If not, we need to do C and increase the capacity if there's enough people wanting on. They might come back, you know, I don't know, it might come back that there's ample capacity, and then it might come back that we need some more, and at that point in time, then we can come back and sit down and decide, let Matt know exactly where we're at and fine-tune these numbers.
So you want it to be explicit,
we have not accepted the grant yet.
that's
And
right.
I guess
We haven't voted on it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have not, so it's all, everything up here is still a big,
That's exactly
Why don't we just say in here,
that's
why don't we just actually say, the city of Cross Plains through the Robeson County Commission has been named as a potential recipient in a federal grant. The city has not decided to go forward and accept the grant. You know, why don't we just say what you're concerned about?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just in a public place that gets a lot of questions, and I don't want to ever put out, when they come in to me and ask me a question, I want to
We
know
can
that.
say it in there, we can even bold it in there, the city hasn't decided to go forward. we're trying to judge the needs of the community.
Go ahead.
Are you okay if we?
Yeah, I'm fine. We can change, say whatever y'all want it to say.
No, I agree.
So only the property owners on Highway 25 addresses, and we got a new list of those, do we? So they'll get the letter, and like Marlene said, and she's right, it's available if we see fit to move forward, or ever how you want to word it. I'm not trying to get anybody to sign on, but if you're having trouble, sign it. If you're not, just say, I'm good, and
And
go
also,
right
will
on.
it be, identifiable? So,
It can be returned or not. Oh,
no, I mean,
Is it
like,
enough?
I think
You
it
want
needs
it?
to be identifiable.
Yeah, you need
Yeah,
to.
well,
I
it'll
know
be,
it doesn't need to
we'll
be
put-
an anonymous.
Yeah,
no,
right.
we'll
No,
put name, address, phone
Okay.
number, and all that stuff on
We'll
here.
get 'em all
It'll be
out
very
there.
But-
identifiable.
I mean, you want to make sure the property owner is identified.
Well, I wanna make sure we don't get that,
A bunch of
I
them.
said no,
that
or
somebody,
yes.
that somebody just said, oh, well, I'll say yes, and send it back. I mean, it needs to be identifiable to what.
Yeah, they're the only
address
ones gonna get it.
Yeah, I know, but I just
Yeah,
think
but
that
it
they're
can
in
be
there.
very, yeah, I mean, it can be manipulated in lots of ways. Yeah.
We
And I
don't
mean,
want
it
to
needs to
discuss
be,
about like.
it needs to be signed by the property owner
Okay,
and identifiable. I mean, it needs to be a legit.
we can do that.
Should you put, can we talk, should you put,
Come to the,
Podium.
line up.
Yeah.
He's the city employee.
John Dookie. Thank you for having me. Appreciate everybody showing up. Should you put in there that there's about the cost? I mean, because if I were to get a letter, that said,
Oh, they're gonna call.
you can, yes, well, you can avoid a lot of calls if you just put in there.
Approximately $8,000
I
whatever.
mean, they said 6,000 to 9,000.
Is it safe to say 6,000 to 8,000 with cap fees approximately 6,000 to 8,000?
Well, there is no tap fee.
Well,
What it is it's the installation of the individual tank and pump and
Right.
connection. The tap fee is basically getting covered in the cost of the construction. So a tap fee generally happens if you're connecting somebody to a system that already exists. So we would say, okay, if you want to connect this tap to this system, it would cost you X amount to connect, plus you'd have to pay for the tank.
So
Tap
if they
fee-
don't do it up front, they're gonna have to pay a tap fee.
Well, there's probably not gonna be any capacity left. That's probably gonna be the biggest issue, is if you build it for 9,300 gallons, it gets eaten up real quick. If you build it for 30,000, it probably lasts a little bit longer, but it'll eventually get eaten up. And so, you know,
Whoa.
We
You're
had to,
breaking the rules. You gotta come to the public. Get in line. Ain't that right, Dookie?
Yes, sir.
You got the spank.
wait a second though. The question that we're asking, wait a minute, we're not in the public comment section yet. What we are in is a question to our potential contractors. Hey, everyone, please be patient with us. Is it safe to say that the cost to install for residents would be approximately $6,000 to $8,000? Is
I
that,
thought it made it 6 to 9, but yes,
Okay.
sir.
all right, and
I mean, that should be in the letter.
Yes.
yeah, right.
I
Just-
will.
That's the
I mean, if I got that letter, I would say I'm not interested in it.
I'm trying to.
You know what I mean? I just put them in septic system in the letter.
Go ahead.
So I have property on 25, and it's gonna be built right, or y'all are considering building it right there. Why would I not receive a letter? Why ones that stopping at
You're-
Kilgore Trade.
Where are you at? Are you live on
Now,
County
Bill
Line?
Jones, or Bill Moss,
$8.
B-Doris, yeah.
Yeah, I
We're
have
not
the
coming,
property
it's
right
not
there.
coming. The sewer line will not come that far.
It will not, but I'm right there. And I have property on 7402 Highway 25. And that's another question. As far as the property owners, is it the owner of the property or the people living in the property?
What would you
Just
think?
gonna-
I mean, just be honest with me. What would you think?
Tell me.
I'll tell you, it's just the property owner, whoever's paying the taxes on that property will be the one that makes that decision.
Okay. So how many of those property owners live outside the city?
Zero. Well, I mean, they might live outside the city, but if they own that property and paying taxes, they'll be making the decision. It won't be the people that are renting there.
Okay, so there's only certain ones that's gonna be allowed. How about the ones that it runs through, they don't want it? Are they gonna have to sign an easement for their property for it to go through there?
It will either run through an easement or it will run through the right of way.
If it goes through their property, will they have to sign anything?
Yes, ma'am, they will have to grant an easement, or the city lets it run through the right of way.
Okay. So if this starts and something happens, if it's voted on, first of all, if it starts and something happens and say the city wanted to go with someone else, are they restricted to the contract with you? Would their property still remain the city?
I'm not sure I follow your question.
All right, you start the process and something happens, you're not getting it done quick enough, something happens, let's just say that. And they decide to go, do they have the option to go with someone else at that point?
For the construction,
For all of it, yeah.
no, ma'am, just for the construction. Well, we're not gonna construct it because we can't.
Okay,
Because the way the grant is set up,
say
We
they
have
wanted
an outside
somebody else
engineering firm.
totally, not a Dennis or Tennessee Water, wastewater, whatever, to do it, they wanted somebody else to do it. What would happen at that point?
okay,
The pumping station.
so the way the grant is set up, we've got to get an engineering firm to design the documents, and we've got to put that out to bid. So there'll be a bid process, there'll be bonds, there'll be all the other stuff that you have on a construction project. So let's say that this guy right here in the blue gets the contract, all right, and then he fails to perform. There's notices that you give him, he has to respond. If he doesn't respond, then at that point, the bond can be busted, and then a second contract can be brought in and completed.
Okay, so it's completed and people have signed on. They're not happy with the service you're providing. They're either being limited on their water flow, how much water they're using, or, they're having, backup, some electrical problems, whatever, they're not happy. Does the city have the right to drop the contract with y'all and go with another company?
We don't have a contract with the city.
Okay, so pretty much, you would be the only company that we could deal with.
No, and you could petition to the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission to get rid of us. Absolutely.
Well, I listened to a recording earlier on apartment property, you did that. And then y'all, they carried it to TRA and, they stood behind him and then against the TRA. I need to finish listening to the recording. I've got it if anybody wants to listen.
George, go ahead, George.
I done signed it.
You sure you signed that?
Yes, sir, I signed it.
I did want to get there, some of it's that if y'all want to look through.
Last week, the dentist gonna put 75,000 in it, right?
I'm sorry?
On this grant, the dentist gonna put 75,000 with this program.
Yes, sir.
Other than that. Quote there.
No, this is just the cost estimates. There's
I
no,
just making sure that was still a thing. There's over 17 businesses down through here, this possibility. And if you estimate them 17 businesses, what do you think that usage would be?
I have no idea.
Well, let me back up. The average usage of Mexican and Terry's and some of the others would be in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 6,000 gallons.
They're using 5,000 to 6,000 gallons of water a day.
Terry's markets, I mean, not Terry's, but Mexicans, you know, they're pumping 2,000 gallons just every 3 or 4 days out of their system. Well,
Okay.
man, that you got 17 businesses that's possibility to hook on for growth. What would you do if there's 17 more houses, so we had 34 units? I guess my biggest question would cut to the chase. If you surpass 30,000 gallons, what are we doing?
Well, if you decide to go past 30,000 gallons, then you'd have to add another treatment pod to it, and then it would have to have more land application for the dispersal of the treated water.
And I understand that. So if you're developing this, I think you said 8-inch line, what will that handle? As far as growth?
We could probably take, in an 8-inch line, we could probably take, about 150 to 170,000 gallons a day.
Okay. So that's good. We're allowing for growth with a pipeline.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you lay this system from the existing system, the only ones that still can hook on to it is from cemetery to Kilgore.
So that's right there at the Piggy Wiggly map. And, so if you hooked onto the old system, you would have enough capacity out there where the plant is now, right? If we done this, what is it? Option D.
Option D.
Yeah, we went all the way. We hooked it up, we're all the way from the interstate all the way up to here. That's option D, right?
Correct.
So what he's saying is, out there, you've got several more acres. If, just say 15, 25 years from now, the community is going to grow. I mean, there's no way to stop that. So I think what Mr. Eden's trying to say is the pipe, the capacity of the pipe big enough to catch any and all of that down through there?
Well, that's an open-ended question. For me to give an answer and say, yes, it could take everything, I mean, if Cross Plains became like Murfreesboro, we couldn't.
Well,
If there's incremental growth, if not proportionate to the city itself, then yes, the answer is yes, we could. It all boils back to treatment capacity and the land application.
If I acquire property or own property between the cemetery right now, and if you chose D, nobody in that area right now could hook on from the cemetery to the existing system if you vote for it today, correct?
Correct. Wait a minute.
Oh, what?
That's
If you go D and increase the capacity of the plant out there to 30,000 gallons per day.
Then you need to send them letters based off of which program you choose.
Well, the only thing we're going to start somewhere. And that's what we're trying to figure out. If they come up through here and says 5 businesses and 11 homes. Then Matt could figure that what I originally, or he originally came to us with would work. If it comes back and it's 23 houses and 8 businesses, and we try to anticipate, he can figure the seating capacity, and the restaurant. He knows from his charts what kind of flow he's gonna get there. So,
I guess.
Wait a minute, can I just insert something and see if this, I wanna make sure I'm right. So I'm asking Matt, that if I owned a piece of property between here and the existing facility, and the city puts in an 8-inch pipe, which you think can handle about 150,000 gallons per day, roughly, we're not gonna hold you to that. And I own some land out here and I wanna develop it, I wanna put 40 homes on it. But you tell me, hey, you can't really tap into this because all the businesses did, and we don't have the capacity to process that out at the plant. As a developer, I could say, how much is it gonna cost to expand your treatment facility? And I can pay him $200,000 or whatever it is so that I can get my density. The line will accommodate it. I think that's what you're worried about, right?
Yes, I mean, in the future growth, we've got, obviously, the 8-inch line would handle quite a bit. I just hate to see not allow a little bit for growth, because.
I think, I understand exactly what you're saying, but Chip hit the nail on the head. At that point in time, you get with the dentist and say,
hey, I
I'm
want to
thinking
put a
about doing
subdivision.
this, what's it gonna cost me? What's it gonna cost me to put 40 homes on that line? And then that's their business, they want
the homes.
Yes.
They've got enough room over there, y'all got, 50 acres left, haven't you, for capacity? So they've got the room to grow the system to accommodate the added on.
Well,
They're not gonna give it to you for.
No, I understand that, that's where, obviously I go back to tap fees and recoup my money, whatever, so I understand that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is a little bit, so we all kind of know Danny Castillo, or even you, say your system fails, are you gonna hook them to it?
I probably would.
I don't blame you, I'm not, Chris, I'm just saying right now, we're trying to figure out, you're just sending letters to people from this address to the pig or Mexican.
Because that's our immediate problem.
Okay.
I mean, that's the immediate area of concern. That's the phone call.
We got the new daycares coming in, and they need it for these kids. Would he pay to get it to the main line? Would he pay?
He would apply to them, just like White House water. If you're building something and you want on the water, it might be right in front. Because I've seen that happen. You don't have to pay.
Well, I guess from my standpoint, if I wanted it in my building and I'm willing to pay,
yeah,
that may be a plus to me, but I can't get it done because I can't get the easement to get from my place to that line.
Well, if you're on a public highway, he can get you there, right?
No, without you allowing me to go through the right of way, I can't.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I don't understand why
you have to get the easement.
You have to.
As a city, you're gonna have to get the easement.
Yeah.
But like the church down here, Methodist Church, and her Goddamn Bears, the post office, right there, there's no right of way down there, right on the road. Where we gonna route this thing? I'm not criticizing, I want the thing, but I want to make sure we understand which route he's got to be able to take, because his price of money is gonna change, so. And I'm not against borrowing the money as a city to build this thing. We borrowed money to do a park for the future, we borrowed money to protect our city. Dan Green gave a perfect speech. All that speech meant to me is we've always been behind. I don't want nobody to see it, to be there. That's the reason I just wanna make sure he's understanding what we all want, and we all got some of the answers. you know, so everybody can make a good judgment, you know. This cross-plane boy stuff's gonna be pretty tough.
Yeah.
I'm not-
And the engineering of that, I agree totally. But we have to start, I mean, what I heard like 2 or 3 months ago from the commissioners was we need more information, which that's great. But every time we get, like, we don't know we just don't know what we don't know. We could have 40 people want to tie on in residences, plus all the businesses, and we go, holy mackerel.
I agree.
Or we could have 4. We say, I have it running out on the ground, someday I may tap in, but as long as this thing holds out, I ain't spending $6,000 to $8,000. We don't know. So then we get that data and we bring it in, and then we have these discussions. Okay, what about, and we just keep working on it till we get to a point where we can go thumbs up or thumbs down.
All right, just one more question. What stuff is not allowed to get in your system? I mean, you know, I remember you saying coffee grounds, but there's more to it than that. Don't
It's
be
laying on
put
that
in.
table.
Well,
It's laying on that table.
well,
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole list of things,
Yeah.
Baby wipes, diapers, hygiene products. It's all stuff you're not supposed to put in the sewer system to start with.
we inquire that with renters. And cigarette butts, matter of fact, too. I guess I'm really protecting Curtis and them. Gray water going into the system.
What kind of gray water?
Prep, meat prep.
You probably have to have some sort of pre-treatment system on it to drop the VOD content out of it. You know, we got to look and see what was in it, nitrates, phosphates.
I've done that as a friend to protect him and the Mexicans and all when they got food prep, same way with Terry. You know, if you don't know, you don't know, but since I know, I'm trying to help them a little bit.
For most of the restaurants that we have, you end up with a grease interceptor on the front side of it. That normally will take care of everything. If it's a typical restaurant, just put a grease interceptor on the top of it before it ever hits the line. We do have some that are more industrial, and so you end up with a grease interceptor. Well, you end up with an oil water separator to start with, and then you have a grease interceptor before it ever hits the line. So I mean, there are ways to take care of specialty businesses.
But I don't want the system to fail, unless we know them to be acknowledged of what, you know, they say.
You done a good job.
Good job.
Thanks for signing in. How much more patience you had?
I had a drink before I got in.
Yes, as long as you turn it fast. I mean, what I mean is, yes, we're gonna work on it tomorrow.
Okay,
And
but
she'll email it out to you guys, you can look at it. But we'd like to go on and get them out. You know, we waited several weeks, which I'm glad we did. We've got some good improvements to the line. But, yes,
well, we still have time, so,
Right.
yeah, I mean, we have plenty of time, so I would like,
yep,
let's not do stuff in haste.
Yeah, because that's one of the things when we read, I mean, it's like, we should never get in a hurry with these big decisions. We gotta take our time and do it right.
How long we been waiting, Dan, on, 29 years?
yeah.
Well,
we're
we ain't
going
been here 29 years, I just got here in August, so I'm learning.
Let's see what you mean.
I know. I'm trying to play myself.
Any other questions or comments of the audience?
We're gonna send a letter to the commissioners via email
Okay.
Okay.
before we send it out. Give them a
Any other questions?
days to review.
Yeah, but I was that.
Yeah.
So, next month, we'll come back, hopefully, we'll get the letter approved and get it in the mail, we get the letter back, we'll share the results of the MCAS people that, you
I
know,
hope to be here, yeah.
I can't wait to see them. Wait,
Oh, I like it.
yeah, I like it.
Very cool.
She called me the other day about it. Okay, meeting adjourned. Come over here. Meeting adjourned.
I done been quiet, but then I got in there and talked to Jennifer, and then I went to the kitchen, ate some chips.